But at 16, you're old enough to be able to actually engage with who becomes the government. And I can see the discrepancy in that. I can see people that would say, well, hang on, if you're not old enough to do one, you're not old enough to do any of it, because 18 is the age, isn't it? That is the age of adulthood. That's the age where, you know, you get the key to actually engage life, you know, all of these sorts of things. I mean, you can't marry at 16 or 17 unless you've got permission from your parents. And so, I don't know, that makes me think that 18 is the right age.
As I said, there's an argument for 16, there's an argument for 18. But for instance, you can join the army when you're 16, you can pay tax when you're 16, and that's why we think that this is important, but also for the reasons I set out earlier of we want young people to be engaged in politics, and the evidence is that if they start voting at 16, they remain engaged, and that means that their views are more likely to be heard by politicians. And the acid test, I guess, is if you give people the vote at 16, do they exercise that vote? And the result from the Scottish referendum makes it very clear that 16 and 17-year-olds exercise that vote to a much greater extent than their older peers. And that is possibly because at that age of 16, they will be doing citizenship, for instance. So they'll be learning about elections, and they then have an opportunity immediately to apply it. So I think that is a benefit. I suppose one other aspect of this is whether there is any political advantage to one party or another of votes at 16. I think that is actually quite hard to predict, because if you look at what's happened in the US, then young people, yes, they voted slightly more for Kamala Harris, but only by a small margin. And in France, in the recent elections, 25 or just under 25% of young people voted for Le Pen's party. So it's not clear that any political party gets a particular advantage.
No, but I mean, the more cynical among us, though, would say that certainly in the last election, overwhelmingly, the biggest demographic that voted for Labour were the youngest, right? And so some cynical people might say, well, this is why Labour is so keen to bring this in, and so keen to bring it in so early in their 5 years as well, right?
Clearly, there may be cynical people who would say that, but I hope that it's being done for the right reasons, and we believe that the right reasons are because young people of that age are able to exercise a vote sensibly and want to make their views heard, to make politicians listen to them more than they're willing to do at present.
Just one final thing, and this is something I'm really passionate about, and I really, really wish, and if you do get your votes at 16 that you want, I would love this to be the next thing that you take on, because I think this is one of the most essential things in that we have, and that is that we teach politics as a compulsory GCSE. I think it is as important as maths and English. I didn't know politics at all until I did it at sort of, you know, at A level and as part of my degree. I didn't know the difference in the ideological roots of the party, the political history of each party, how each party had sort of changed, the ideological difference in issues. I still know people who are, you know, in their 40s who don't know the difference between left and right. They literally base their entire vote on what one party says and what the other party says. I mean, I suppose there's benefit to that, rather than actually any kind of ideological difference between parties. And I suppose my point would be, surely that actually is the way to ensure that people of all ages remain engaged in politics, is that they've got to be taught political history and ideological history in schools.
Well, I agree completely with you. It can be done through citizenship. And of course, citizenship is something that is mandatory in some schools, but it isn't, for instance, in academies or private schools. And I think it should be, because then everyone will be being taught about politics and get a better understanding of how it works. Because I'm afraid that the 60% turnout at the last general election implies, yes, that a lot of people just felt that it wasn't worth voting, but I suspect quite a lot of those people who didn't vote weren't actually sure how to do it and were a bit nervous about going into a polling station. So yeah, education is very definitely key. to getting more engagement, whether that's with young people or older people.
Will you take that on? Would you take that on if you get votes for 16-year-olds? Will that be the next step?
Well, that must be the next step. There's no point in giving young people the vote at 16 if they're not getting comprehensive education about how they should exercise that vote. And that will be education that is completely apolitical. It should be about how the process works and then enabling young people to make their own mind up about which of the parties they want to vote for.
All right. Good to talk to you. Thank you. That's Tom Brake, Director at Unlock Democracy. When we return, we'll find out what you've got to say about this and, of course, more of your calls and your emails as well. Well, your texts, actually, you've got loads of them today, all here live on Talk.
A really skilled occupation, but
if you do it right,
yeah,
you do it nicely.
And I think a lot of traditional barbers are pretty concerned that their trade is being tarnished by a lot of people coming in and just, you know, have a go, Henry, sort of just turning up with a pair of clippers and having a crack, but not necessarily what the trade wants to be seen front and centre.
No, but if you're in search of some winter sun, or you're an expat watching GB News, I know some of you are in sunny Spain, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello, welcome to your latest winter sun forecast brought to you by the Met Office. We'll see an east-west split weather-wise across southern parts of Europe over the next few days. Mostly fine in the west, more unsettled further east. Could see a few showers on Christmas Eve across the Canaries, but for much of Iberia, it's set fair, plenty of sunshine around here. And then we run into more unsettled conditions across southeastern parts of Europe, some wind, some rain, even some hill snow in places. And that east-west split continues as we go through the Christmas period. Further unsettled weather to come in the east, generally fine the further west you are.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This week is Chocolate Week, the ultimate celebration of everything rich, sweet and indulgent.
Yes, and we now have the best person in the studio with us to satisfy all of your chocolate cravings. We're joined now by master chocolatier Ollie the Choc. Ollie,
hello.
Really
good
to see you this
morning. Thank you for having me.
And you brought some of your chocolate in with you.
I did. I brought some tasting samples. You're very welcome to help yourself.
So what have you got here? Tell us.
So this is my signature chocolate. I call it the Holy Grail. It's got sea salt flakes, crushed Oreo, caramel fudge pieces, very Moorish.
I love a caramel and salt combo, just, you know. I feel like you see it everywhere now. Look,
you won't be disappointed.
Look, I want everyone to see a close-up of this one. Can we get a shot on this one? So this is Oreo, there we are, caramel and salt. Do you want to try some?
You go first.
Help yourselves. And then this bar of chocolate is a little bit of a wild card. That's a mystery flavour. So
OK, I love a mystery.
I'm not going to tell you what that is.
Hold on this one. This one's amazing.
Are you?
Oreo, caramel.
That's my biggest seller.
I'll keep my palate clean for this. So this is a mystery flavour.
You've got to guess what that is.
Is that a nut in there, I see? Right, here we go. Ready?
Not saying anything.
Talk us through.
Very crunchy.
For me, I'm all about textures in chocolate.
Me too.
It has got a good crunch to it, hasn't it? It's not the kind of flavour that you would expect.
Oh, I can't get it.
Is it sweet? Is it salty?
No, it's salty, yeah.
It's
okay.
salty.
Hang on, bit more.
Okay.
Bit more.
I mean, just keep going.
Crisps? Wait,
It is crispy, it's crunchy. Could it be crisps?
I think it could be crisps. Yeah, it's crisps.
So what flavour?
Salt and vinegar. Cheese and onion.
Yes, nailed it. You know.
Oh, you're much better than me.
Love that.
Do you know what? I think I've got a bit of a cold, so my taste buds are off.
Oh, you're going to blame that, are you?
That's my excuse. That's delicious.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We haven't got long left, have we?
No, Merry Christmas Britain is running out of time, but it's been a great show.
It has been, and lots of you have been in touch.
Yeah.
Lots are getting in touch about the barber shops.
Yes.
They have been noticed and noted.
Yes.
And yes, a conversation around whether the traditional barbers will be upset with the new lot and the standards.
It's a great
Perhaps
comment here.
slipping.
Yes, great comment here from Rita, just in, saying that she's also concerned about the number of sort of food delivery vehicles zipping around her local area, how that suddenly sort of appeared alongside the barbers'
People are lazy.
situation.
People are lazy. They can't be asked to go down the road. I mean, do you know what I saw on Deliveroo recently? And this may just be in London. OK, this may just be in London. You can now hire a going-out dress to be delivered.
Where'd you get this dress?
Well, you could not this one, not this one. But
Hiring a going-in dress.
I mean, but that's how lazy we are now that people can't even bother to buy the clothes. They have to get them delivered in 10 minutes.
In 10 minutes?
And then they hire it, and then the
you hand it back
Deliveroo
in?
person comes and takes it back.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy?
I'm kind of
No,
sold
you can
on
even
this.
hire a party dress
sounds
that
great.
last-minute needs, eh?
Yeah.
That is our society.
Here's another one from Victor. He's talking about Bashar al-Assad's wife. Potential reports of her coming back to Britain. He says that she would have had no involvement in his political or personal life. She would have simply been window dressing. I have to say, Victor, it appears that the Met Police don't agree. They launched, actually, its War Crimes Unit, a special investigation into allegations against Asma al-Assad a few years ago. So she was very much on their radar. But the question still goes on. If she would come back, would that investigation continue?
Yeah, should the citizenship just be stripped? Christopher's got in touch from Cardiff with a pretty miserable message, but I'm going to read it out anyway. Everything is stable when the country has been sunk and we have settled on the seabed. Honestly, the country is being run by clowns pretending they know what to do. Happy Christmas, Christopher.
Merry Christmas,
Happy Christmas. Yes, it's true, though, this use of the term stability as if it's always a good thing. I mean, you can be stably rubbish.
Yes, look, we clearly want something other than stability. Stagflation and
I quite want a bit
economies.
of a bit of growth is inherently
bounce.
not stable, is it?
Yes.
A Christmas bounce.
Christmas bounce.
Yes. Some of you will get that.
Yes.
A Christmas bounce. A Christmas bounce.
Yes. Well, what else have we been
Anything
talking
you got
about
any
today?
more?
Which is
Any
sort
more
of-
for
do you
any
know
more?
what, I think some of these, when one person called us deranged earlier, some of these are a little bit punchy. So I think we'll move on for that last comment.
Yes, some of you have to be a bit careful.
Yes. Well, I've had a great time, Emily. It's been a wonderful show. We've covered all sorts, and we've got Martin coming up next.
It's going to be another great show from him. Yeah, can you spot the elf?
Can you spot the elf?
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A lot of cloud has arrived and will continue to spread across the rest of the UK during the rest of today, bringing drizzle and hill fog, but also bringing much milder weather in time for Christmas. This warm front is the culprit. That's what's bringing the thick and low cloud to much of the UK through the rest of the day, along with outbreaks of mostly light.
Hello, brave hero. Welcome to the fair town of Honeywood. You look like an adventurer whose journey is just beginning. As such, I'd like to offer you an easy quest to start with. Would you like to help me with my chores? I can split my pocket money with you. Accept. Great! Follow me. If you wouldn't mind.
Union, a guy called Red Robbo.
Yeah.
You remember him? He was an interesting character. But just a quick sign-off in our conversation, if you'll allow me, that people talk about how bad life is and how poor they are today. But let's not forget, donkeys years ago, people were even worse off because there wasn't a benefit system or a national health.
But actually, as well, the difference is that it's one of the famous quotes, isn't it? That people were more content years ago because no one had anything. The issue with capitalism is that capitalism does create inequality. However, it does tend to make things better for everyone. So everyone is maybe at an unequal level, but they're at a higher point than they would have been if we didn't have capitalism. But because of that inequality, you then get angry with your neighbour, which is why there is that discontent. Listen, good to talk to you, Nigel. Matthew in Fife. Should 16-year-olds get the vote, Matthew? Hello?
No, I don't think they should. Only because when I was growing up, I'm 40-odd now, I was still quite immature, and we were left to fend for our own devices, to want of a better word. Whereas nowadays, they're mollycoddled, pampered, wrapped in cotton wool. So because they've had no sort of, bite of the cherry of life and hadn't made any hard decisions because they're all looked after and cared for and kept all soft and gooey, they can't make, I don't think they have the ability to, some do, but I don't think they've got the ability to make an informed decision. My stepson has just turned 16 and he's a bit of an idiot at times and very immature, and I was the same at that age, so I really don't think it's really a conversation that needs to be had. And also,
well, maybe they need to learn it in schools. Maybe this is the whole solution to this thing, because when I learned it, I couldn't wait to go and vote. I was desperate to go and vote because I felt like I knew about it.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, but because you're then learning, and I see your point, but I think kind of School of Hard Knocks is probably where it's at in regards to where people sort of mature into adults, because they've had to make tough decisions. They've had to sort of, work hard for things. Whereas the school system now and how children are raised, I just think it's all soft and quiet, safe spaces. There's no, rip the plaster off, get on with it, rub some dirt in it, and away you go anymore, which they had the generation before when my mum and dad and my grandparents were growing up. They were fairly mature. I'm 42.
Yeah, there are 16-year-olds and there are 16-year-olds, aren't there?
Yeah, and the point about the gentleman was saying about, you can join the army at 16. Yes, you can, but you can't deploy until you're 18. So you're still not really doing anything other than your training.
And someone else has sent me a message today. Where is it? I can't find it. It was a tweet saying, you can't have a sunbed at 16 in Scotland, I think, but you can vote there. So that doesn't seem to make sense either. Interesting conversation. Matthew, thank you. Still a bit torn on that, but nice to hear all that you have to say on that. Coming up here on Talk, well, you won't probably appreciate what we're going to have to say about the travel chaos that's taking place. Can you believe that 2 days before Christmas, they have more or less cancelled train after train after train? Some of the worst offending operators of trains in this country simply aren't running them 2 days before Christmas. What is going on? Well, we'll try and get you to your destination in the next few minutes. More of your calls as well. We'll also talk about last-minute Christmas gifts.
I spoke with His Majesty the King to request the dissolution of Parliament, and we will have a general election on the 4th of July.
I have just returned from Buckingham Palace to form the next government of this great nation.
Take a look at what happened.
I immediately knew it was very serious, that we were under attack.
The time has come, and this surely is England's time. Williams, who scores, and Spain lead. Shot from distance is in. It is Cole Palmer. Low ball in, or far ball, slides it in.
An absolute killer of a goal.
I agree with
was protest, but I don't think the violence was anywhere near necessary.
No, I mean, I don't think anyone, Nigel, would ever think that the violence was the answer at all.
אזרחי ישראל, אנחנו במלחמה.
I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me.
If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats.
Liberal left couldn't understand that this man could be anything other than the great newsreader, a man of integrity.
Is it possible in any way, shape or form that Keir Starmer didn't know about these facts about the suspects in Southport?
I find it extraordinary that he wouldn't know. It seems that the public has not been told the truth.
No, there's nothing like an American election, I have to say. North Dakota has gone red, South Dakota's red, Texas is red.
Many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason.
Bloomberg UK reporting Ukraine has made the first long-range missile strike inside of Russia.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Merry Christmas! Not if you're planning on travelling anywhere, more on that in a moment. But we've been talking about 16 and 17-year-olds getting a vote, the state of the economy. Coming up later this hour, we'll talk about last-minute Christmas gifts. Have you managed to do all your Christmas shopping? And if not, why not? And are you one of those? Are you a sort of last-minute Lenny or are you a well-prepared Penny? That's what I want to know. I just made that up. 0344 499 1000. I'm quite good with my Christmas presents, actually, I have to say. I do tend to be prepared. Though I found something yesterday for my sister-in-law, right? And then, so I went to the shop to buy it, but I ended up having a few too many Kia Royales at the champagne bar of Selfridges, which was a very middle-class thing to do. And then I went on the website for the place where I was buying the thing, and it was 25% off. So then I bought it online, but now I think it won't arrive in time, so should I just bought it in Selfridges anyway? Those are the kinds of dilemmas for a last-minute Lenny like me. So, we'll talk about that later this hour as well. So lots for us to discuss, loads of calls as well. Thank you so much for all your kind tweets as well and messages to see me back. Really nice to see you. I'm here the same time tomorrow. I'm off Christmas Day, but then Boxing Day I'm here at 6 a.m. as well, and I'm here pretty much every day over Christmas at various times. So check the schedule. Thank you for your company. Lots we've got coming up as well over Christmas for Talk. Got a whole list of shows here, which I'll read some of you a bit later on. So all of this right here on Talk. A lot of you made this point. Do you know, it's so annoying when you do an interview with someone, right? And then you guys are cleverer than I am at the questions. I really wish I'd thought of this question when we were speaking earlier to the name of the guest who I can't remember because their name has been taken off the screen, even though I asked specifically that their name not be taken off the screen after we've spoken to them. What was the name of the guy from Democracy Unlocked? Tom Brake. That was his name. I really wish I'd asked him this question about 16-year-olds voting. And so many of you have said, well, hang on, voting at 16. If you vote at 16, does that mean you lose your anonymity at 16 if you commit a crime? Should you be tried as an adult when you're 16? Should you go to an adult prison at 16? Are you an adult at 16 or not? So very, very good point there. And I really wish I'd thought of that question. Damn you and your cleverness. Well, a lot of people might have slightly stronger words to say than damn when it comes to travel, because there are amber warnings for traffic gridlock. There are threatened strikes and so much rail engineering work that you'd be lucky to literally, you may as well just use your son or daughter's toy train set to get anywhere over this Christmas. It is outrageous, it is ridiculous, and someone who can help you through is, of course, the travel correspondent for The Independent. It's Simon Calder. Hello there, Simon.
Christo, I will add to my thanks that you are back. It's lovely to talk to you and to see you. But as you say, a tricky old time to be a traveller, whether you're on trains, boats, planes or in the car.
Right, I get the unforeseen stuff, Simon. Firstly, thank you for your kind words, but I get the unforeseen stuff because stuff happens, right? I cannot understand why, at a time when we are working from home in our droves, at a time when if you are working Monday to Friday, there are probably alternative ways in which you can get somewhere, but Christmas is a time where families like to get together. Why on earth would Network Rail and the various rail companies collude to stop people getting places over Christmas? I mean, how many 800 trains are being cancelled on some of the worst networks? Thameslink, one of the busiest through central London, are essentially closing down from yesterday. It's outrageous.
Well, let me paint a different picture for you, Christo, which is that we, of course, have a rapidly decaying rail infrastructure that is unfortunately no longer fit for purpose. It's going to celebrate its 200th anniversary next year, and as a result of that, it needs fixing. Network Rail and the train operators really want to impact as few people as possible, and they say that all their data suggests that Christmas is the least bad time to do it. Now, I think there's a lot of people who would say, yeah, well, that's only because fewer people travel at Christmas because fewer people can trust the trains, and I think there's some data to be done there. But exactly as you say, the main line from London St Pancras International going north to Luton, to Bedford, to Leicester, Derby, Nottingham and Sheffield, that has been severed for the last couple of days, and it will continue like that until the 30th of December. Anybody who wants to catch a train anywhere has exactly about 30 hours to do that, because things will start closing down mid-evening on Christmas Eve right across the country. All trains will be tucked up in their depots for Christmas Day, no trains at all. Things start again on Boxing Day, but in a very limited way. You've got a train from London Victoria to Gatwick and Brighton, links from Tottenham Hale in North London to Stansted Airport. Quite a lot of trains actually around Merseyside, but most things won't start up again until Friday the 27th, and then actually the busiest station in Britain, which is London Liverpool Street, and the second busiest, which is London Paddington, both of those will not open because they are having massive projects that will keep Liverpool Street closed until the 2nd of January and Paddington closed till the 30th of December.
And of course, you mentioned the railway lines reopening on Boxing Day and all of those things. That's without the inevitable staff shortage, which of course we're going to get because of all those members of staff of the train companies, of which we're paying a fortune, deciding when their alarm goes off, oh, hang on, no, I think I want Christmas to continue for a couple more days. I think I might be ill today.
I couldn't possibly comment on that. I know that if you put that to the big rail unions, the RMT and ASLEF, they would say that's absolutely not what happens at all. We have had yesterday hundreds of trains cancelled on Northern. That was exactly as a result of people opting not to go to work, as they're entitled to do. The guards on trains in northwest England don't have to work on a Sunday, so it's the last one before Christmas. Why would you want to do a bit of overtime?
Because you are forced to. Why did we give these huge pay rises and not say, as part of the pay rises, you are forced to work on sociable days? Because that's the job. You don't become a doctor and say, sorry, I'm not working weekends. You don't become a journalist and say, sorry, I'm only going to do the news Monday to Friday. So why are you allowed to work on a train as a guard or a driver and say, sorry, I'm only going to do a couple of days a week and that's that?
Well, because this is rooted in the Victorian era, literally. Now, I know that many listeners and viewers will be sorry that you're not Prime Minister. I'm definitely not the Transport Secretary, but I suggest you put that question either to Heidi Alexander, the current Transport Secretary, or her predecessor, Louise Haigh, who actually negotiated the deal whereby train drivers got 15% pay increase covering 3 years, but without any strings attached, and that was exactly what they were after. So these things can be sorted out, but it's going to cost more money. Currently, the taxpayer is paying £12.5 billion a year to keep the trains running. That's £400 per second.
Now, I'm going to pick you up on something, Simon. Now, you know I love you, and you know I agree with most of what you say, sometimes. But we have Victorian infrastructure, and I'm sorry, this is why, you know, they would argue that they've got to close the railways, right? I remember something in 1997 called Thameslink 2000. Now, Thameslink is, of course, the line you're talking about, which goes through central London up to the north, to Peterborough, up to St Pancras, to Luton, to Bedford, all this stuff. Thameslink 2000. And do you know why it was called Thameslink 2000? Because we were told that these transformative changes, meaning that we get the most reliable train service, would be finished by 2000. Well, come about 2007, they dropped the word 2000 because, obviously, 2000 had passed. We're now in 2025 nearly, and they're still closing all of these lines for the engineering work that we were promised 30 years ago would transform our journeys.
I couldn't argue with a word of that, Christo. Yeah, it's pretty grim, and this is at exactly the time when actually every single listener and viewer should be thinking, OK, we are going to travel by train because it's greener and less stressful and so on, but I'm afraid that's not the message that people get.
Yeah, and I was offered, I was saying this earlier, I was going to go to St Albans tonight to see a friend for a drink, and I was offered a 2-hour and 50-minute replacement bus service, which would cost £30 to get there.
Well, look, I will buy you a drink instead, Christo, so usual place, 6 o'clock.
I feel like I need one after this conversation. So I suppose it's all the usual, isn't it? Check, check and check again. Check the airports, check the train lines, check National Rail, check everything before you even think about, I don't know, just walking to the corner shop.
You could say that, yes.
All right, listen, Simon, thank you. I don't know whether you've made me feel better with all of that, I have to be honest, but I hope you have a nice Christmas. I hope you're going to make it somewhere at Christmas. He has a bike, he has a bicycle, so, you know, I think he'll be all right. That's Simon Calder. I mean, doesn't it make you angry? It makes me furious. Absolutely furious that you can't get home for Christmas. I think they think that everyone works the same hours as people who work on the trains. And fair play, I realise there are a lot of unsung heroes that are going to be doing all of that engineering work over the Christmas period, probably getting paid a fortune to do so, and it's all necessary stuff. But this is why, don't ever complain to me if you are someone that is against HS2 and then complains about all of this. Because we had it in our hands. All of you NIMBYs about HS2, we had it. We had a brand new train line that was going to take us everywhere. And you blew it. You all complained so much about it, moaned like mad about it, said, oh, well, I don't know, there might be a train that's within 7 miles of my back garden. Oh, you know, oh, God, I want to save this tree over here. So what did they do? They got rid of it. And what are we ending up with? Just a stretch between London and Birmingham, of which there are already 2 train lines anyway. So don't you dare complain to me about this if you didn't like HS2, because we had our chance to actually have a fast railway system. I don't care if it costs £100 billion, because if the alternative is what we have at the moment, some cobbled together rubbish Victorian mosaic of awfulness that doesn't get you anywhere. And whenever there is anything happening, Easter, Christmas, any kind of family get together, what do we get? Well, it's quicker to go by horse and cart, which I'm actually convinced they want you to take from now on. So you've annoyed me now because, I'm sorry, you do not have a chance to complain about this if you were against HS2. All right? Those are the rules. Thank you very much. OK. Howard in Leicester. Hello, Howard.
Hello, Christo. First of all, we do miss you Saturday and Sunday mornings.
Oh, bless you.
I love your show.
I miss you too, to be honest.
And just on the 16 to 17, I mean, it's pure gerrymandering from the Labour Party because they believe that 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds are more likely to vote Labour. And I was the one who gave the point earlier. If they truly believed it, and I would go along with them, if they said, fine, 16-year-olds will be treated as adults for the Ministry of Justice system, going through adult prisons and everything like that. The other point is, your guest earlier mentioned they can join the army. What he forgot to tell you is, yes, 16-year-olds can join the army, but you're not allowed to serve in the front line or serve in any active war zone, even if it's in a reserve, in a back supply job or anything, until you're 18.
Yeah.
So he's quite wrong. If you want to make it 16, fine, but it's everything.
So what, you think you should be tried as an adult at 16? Like you said, you should be able to have a sunbed, you should be able to drive a car, you should be able to buy cigarettes, buy alcohol, the whole lot at 16.
Yes, and it's pure gerrymandering. I mean, if you look up the definition of gerrymandering, it's effectively trying to distort or fix a election result in favour of yourself by changing boundaries, the voters and everything else. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is gerrymandering, and also it's what's the reverse of gerrymandering? Because I think also when you look at the way in which they have, well, a lot of people have called it contempt for older voters, for pensioners, for the inheritance tax stuff, for all of these sorts of things. That's the demographic least likely to vote Labour. So whatever the opposite of gerrymandering is, they also are seemingly doing that to older people.
Yeah. But any time you get any guests on or any supporting it, hit them with, fine, Ministry of Justice, they're all going to be treated as adults at 16. Adult prisons, they can go on the front line in the army. And I wonder how many 16-year-olds, if you gave them the option, right, you're allowed to vote, but if you tick this box, it means you're going to be treated as an adult in the justice system, and also if you join the services.
So what, we make it optional. So at 16, when you get your national insurance card through, you get a tick box. I'm either an adult or I'm an adult in 2 years.
Mind you, if we did that, well, you could do that for any age group, couldn't you?
Yeah, I still want to be. Can I still be 16 then, please?
You're past that, Christo. You're past that.
Charming.
Your good days are in your rearview mirror. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. And happy Christmas to you.
Well, I'm not sure it is now, but yeah, thanks.
Your show in the morning and James Max during the week, I wish you'd get it back on. I wish it would come back on.
Oh, well, yeah, I do too.
I miss hearing Ken, Kevin, Ian, the lot of them.
You miss Ken?
Yeah, I know. I'm saying it. It's my Christmas spirit.
Well, listen, much excitement because James Max is on next.
Oh, excellent. Oh,
he'll be on at 4 o'clock.
We want you both back in the mornings.
Well, well, it doesn't look like that's going to happen going forward, but thank you. And
anyway, have a good Christmas.
Nice to speak to you. And also, if you are wondering what's going to be happening in the mornings over the course of the next few days here on Talk, well, we've got Talk Sport between 1 and 6, and this is on Christmas Day. We've got the best of the year of Talk between 6 and 8 a.m, the best of Morning Glory between 8 and 10, the best of Julia between 10 and 11, Christmas special Plank and the Week, that's at 11 o'clock, Gaffs of the Year 12 till 12:30, loads of stuff as well. And then on Thursday, we've got Talk Sport between 1 and 5. We've got Plank of the Week between 5 and 6. And then I'm here between 6 and 10 in the morning on Boxing Day. So make sure you join me there. And also, by the way, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is at Christo_radio, where you can hear my ramblings with many of the old favourites that we used to have on early breakfast. Yes, I try and do a different one every single week. Though not this week because I'm busy. But yeah, we try and do a different one every single week. So do subscribe and like there at Christo_radio. Okay. When we return, more of your calls on voting age and everything else live here on Talk.
What do you think Labour has actually done well?
So far in government, I think what they've done is they've turned around the country economically to a different position, a different way of doing things. Ultimately, they've made difficult
downwards?
that even I disagree with.
The economy is worse now than it was when Labour took over.
Right now, yeah, we're talking 5.5 months in.
But you just told me they've done a brilliant job with the economy.
About a long-term...
Hang on a minute, you just said what Labour did well was the economy.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, it's Christo here on Talk. Thanks for your company. You really do enjoy talking about votes for 16-year-olds, don't you? I mean, I really thought that that would not be something that would float your boat this afternoon, but it really is. So we'll get back to some more of your calls on that in a moment. Also, we were talking earlier about Peter Mandelson apparently asking Nigel Farage for help in making sure that there are good relations with Donald Trump. Well, Jill in Cornwall wants to discuss that. Hello, Jill.
Hello, Crystal.
Nice to speak to you.
And you. For myself, I don't want him to help him. I mean, I know it's not good for the country, and it probably would not be good for business or anything like that. But because I'm not a fan of Peter Mandelson, I do think he's a numpty, and I think that Donald Trump will not necessarily like him either. And I feel that for Nigel Farage to sort of help him, yes, maybe for the country it's a good idea, maybe for politics to do with reform and other parties it's a good idea, but I just feel that helping the Labour Party get a better relationship is probably more for them rather than for the country.
But do you think that actually it will... I mean, I don't know. Are you a reform-like voter? Would you vote reform? Do you like reform?
I do like reform. I like the politicians in reform. I'm
just wondering, is it a way that perhaps Nigel Farage can look like he is more statesman-like? It's very good PR for reform, this, and if they can hold their noses and help Peter Mandelson, it might actually increase the credibility of reform and make them more likely to be elected.
Well, yes. I think that the politicians in reform are better than the politicians in the Labour Party. And I do feel that possibly in the long run, it would be good for the country if we have a good relationship with Donald Trump. He's probably not the easiest person to get along with, but I do think that he and Farage seem to get on really well. I just don't necessarily feel that it will do reform any good, because the Labour Party will end up, I think, manipulating this to such a degree that it will look as if it's their good work that's done it rather than anything to do with Nigel Farage.
So let them hang. Let it all go wrong.
Well, that's how personally I feel. I would like them to have their knuckles wrapped.
Well, it goes to show, doesn't it, as well, how naive I think it was. Like, even in opposition, I think that if you are preparing for government, you can't be like sixth form activists. And There's a lot I don't like about Donald Trump. I have to be honest. I've always said it. I think he seems to be a little bit more statesman-like this time, actually. I think he seems to have reined it in a little bit. But there's certainly a lot that you can criticise Donald Trump about. But if I was in opposition, I would not criticise him in the way in which Labour did, comparing him to Hitler, the Nazis, all this sort of stuff. Well, and it just goes to show how damaging that must be if Peter Mandelson is now saying, actually, Nigel Farage, complete political rival, we might need your help.
Well, yes, and to be perfectly honest, Peter Mandelson hasn't shown a very good picture of himself over the years anyway. You know, he's hardly what you would call here we go, the most decent of chaps. He's not necessarily been honest with the public over the years. And so, I don't have a very good impression of him anyway. But it's purely personal that I think to myself, why should we help them to sort of get things straight when they don't deserve it?
I get it. I get it. Listen, good to talk to you. That's Jill in Cornwall. Malcolm in Devon. Now, come on, Malcolm, are you in favour of 16-year-olds getting the vote? Oh, Malcolm, are you there? No, I don't think we've got Malcolm. Malcolm is so shocked by the idea of 16-year-olds voting that he is lost to the power of speech. Let's do some tweets. I've been terrible with tweets. Mess your hair up, Crystal. I like your curls. Oh, no, I'm blow-drying it straight now because it looks fuller. It does. My partner likes me with curly hair, though, but I don't. But thank you. Re 16-year-old says cricket scorer. It would need to be a change of everything. So driving, alcohol, forces, married without permission. How will a post-16 education and its funding work? Thank you for that. 800 train services cancelled at the busiest time of the year, says Eric the Owl. Well, actually, 800 train services just on some of the lowest performing train companies. That's not the total. Rail workers are really and truly taking the mick. The backhander of all this is that these people, by refusing to work, are really showing Keir Starmer and company up for negotiating such a pathetic settlement. Thank you for that as well. Let's return to Malcolm, who I think is there. Hello, Malcolm.
Hiya, Christo. Can you hear me?
Yes, fine, thank you. So tell me, what do you think about this idea of 16-year-olds getting the vote?
No, I'm totally against it. At 16, there was only a couple of things on my mind, and they certainly weren't politics. And I just think that kids nowadays have got to earn the right to do it.
What was possibly on your mind at 16 that wasn't politics?
Well, yeah, I wonder, eh?
I don't know, Malcolm.
And a lot of the opposite sex at 16, I'm afraid. Not politics.
Oh, so it was drink and being randy?
Well, of course, very much so.
I think you fit in perfectly in the House of Commons. I think actually you've just described politics there.
If you're describing sixth form, what was it you described that the Labour government had, which I totally agree.
Sixth form activism rather than practical government.
That would indicate that we feel that they're inexperienced and they don't really know what they're doing. So if we're letting the vote at 16, are we going to end up with politicians in exactly the same scenario? And should we not make them work for it and do national service, 2 years nursing, 2 years caring, 2 years working on the Network Rail? Should we not give them a basic wage like they would do if they're on the dole and get them to do all this, like they did in America, I believe, didn't they, in the 60s, 70s, like the Peace Corps and things, something like that? Can we not make them do something to earn the right then to vote? Because I don't feel at 16 any of them have earned the right. And your previous caller was right about the forces, is that they can't go into a war zone and fight for the Queen, King and country until they're 18.
I get it. I absolutely... Do you know what I was just thinking? I got a bit lost there, Malcolm, because I just... Do you remember, and I'm sorry if I've made this point before, but do you remember... I don't know, how old are you, Malcolm?
I'm 58.
58, all right. So you're older than I am, but we're not a million miles away from each other, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember when you were growing up, or when you were maybe in your 20s, and you'd look at people in politics, big figures in politics, and they would really be statesmen and women? You might think, I don't agree with them, I fundamentally disagree with them, but they would be sort of figures where you were You were impressed by their stature. You had a respect for them. They had a wealth of knowledge. They had a way of conducting themselves where a credibility, I guess.
Can I be honest with you?
I beg your pardon?
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I was fighting for Queen and Country from the age of 20 for 22 years, and the only one that inspired me that had a bigger pair of cojones than any of the others was Maggie.
I knew you'd say that. I knew you'd say that.
It's not because I came from the right side of the street. It's not because I was in the forces. It's because, yes, all right, she did give us a pay rise, but it was still a pathetic wage. And all of us then carried on. We went to Iraq twice. I went to Iraq twice, Bosnia twice, Kosovo twice, and I went to Northern Ireland 4 years. And no sob story. It's just the fact that we weren't paid enough, but somebody actually realised that. And then we had Lionel Blair come in with his bloody idiotic behinds. And I didn't really think about any politics. I probably voted for the first time at about 30 because
That's interesting.
I didn't care. I really didn't care because I was getting on with life and I knew that my vote would have made a difference. And
that's really interesting, Malcolm. That's really, really interesting.
My other point I was on about, which leads into it, you talked earlier about politics and at 16, obviously, getting told and learning at school, and you're indicating that we should have some education.
Yes.
But who's going to write that? Who's going to write the criteria? Is it going to be our left-wing government, or is it going to be given to the academies that, say, perhaps lean towards a different persuasion, farther up north? Is it our country's politics you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's true because you're going to potentially have that what is usually described in academic institutions as that left-leaning lilt to that political education, and unless you are robust, and I always was when I was being taught politics, to put your hand up and go, well, hang on, you're talking a load of nonsense, and you know, but there might be students who just take it as fact and don't do that. So I completely take what you're saying, and I think that's a really valid concern. Got to go because we've got to get to the break, but when we return, last minute Christmas gifts. Not ideas for them, but why you're probably insane to leave it to the last minute. So we'll talk about that next here on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, it's Christo here on Talk. Now, it is 23 minutes to 4 p.m. and it's the 23rd of December. So it's 23 to 4 on the 23rd of the 12th. It's Christmas. 2 days' time. Christmas morning. Do you know that? Did you know it was Christmas in 2 days' time? And, of course, you can't get anywhere at the moment because everything's shut down and you can't travel anywhere and basically you're housebound. Probably too late to get anything delivered. So if you set off now, you might be able to find a couple of shops that are open, or you might get there tomorrow for a couple of shops that might be open. Especially if you've not started your Christmas shopping. Now, I was on something called, what was it? It's a train that goes under the ground on my way here earlier. An underground train. I didn't even know that they ran one, but I found myself on one. And I was sat next to someone and they were on their phone. And I looked at their phone to see what they were doing. And they actually were writing Christmas gift ideas. And I got anxiety. I was like, are you going to do... Because what time was it when I was on the tube on my way here? So what time did the show start? 1 o'clock. So about 5 to 1. I was on the tube on the way here, and I thought it's 5 to 1 in the afternoon, the 2 days before Christmas, and you're just writing your Christmas list now. Are you insane? Well, that's a question for a consumer psychologist, Jana Busby, who joins me on the line. Hello there, Jana.
Hello.
What is a consumer psychologist?
Well, interesting question. Consumer psychologist is someone who can give you an insight into how we shop, why we buy what we buy, and basically is all about our human behavior and human motivation when it comes to shopping.
Okay, so why do you think what is the psychology behind someone who doesn't start their Christmas shopping until the 23rd or even Christmas Eve?
Oh, there'll be a few reasons for that, especially nowadays. People are busy with doing different things. There is a lot of information that is going around. And I think what is predominantly, one of the predominant reasons is that nowadays with online shopping and so much on offer, we think we can just do it last minute and maybe we can get something that is delivered within a few hours or next day. So many people, because of this reason, sort of procrastinate and wait to the last moment. Or sometimes we wait because we want to get more information about what we want to get, to people that we love that are going to be with us for Christmas, or someone that's really we want to learn what they would prefer to have as a gift. And if we can't reach them soon enough because they've been busy, maybe we are waiting for the last minute and just call them on the phone or message them and ask them what they want, and then think, okay, I can do that, tonight when I get home, and I'm just going to order it online and it's going to be with them or with us, in no time.
Because I went to Selfridges yesterday, and so I was on Oxford Street, and I have to say, it was packed. It was chaos. I was expecting...
I think as it always is.
Well, I wasn't expecting it. I thought that we'd all be sat at home waiting for Amazon to come. I thought we'd all be sat at home hoping that DPD would actually, knock on our door, or what's the other one as well? Hermes? Hermes. That's the one that just literally, they just throw a card on your front porch and hope for the best. And, that hopefully we end up sort of, chasing the van driver down the road, because if they never actually deliver it. But that's what I thought people did nowadays. So I was amazed that it was so rammed absolutely everywhere, and that so many people were buying stuff. And I suppose what interested me, and that I became a little bit like this, even though I didn't start doing shopping until I'd been in there for 2 hours because I was at the bar, but is the panic that you kind of have, and that I know I've got enough stuff. I know I've bought people their shopping. I know that I'd got most of what I needed, but I found myself getting anxiety. I was like, there's a pair of shoes there. Maybe I should buy a pair of shoes for my partner. And there's something there. Maybe I should buy that. And I don't know if I've got enough. And, I need to buy both of these panettone, which I did. We need 2 panettone because we might not have enough panettone. So I bought 2 of them. And there's this sort of this fear that you get. And I suppose big stores and Amazon and all of that, they love that fear.
You know what? Christmas is supposed to be a joy, but very often giving can be the most stressful part of Christmas festivities. And I think I would say that, when it comes to online shopping or online gift buying online, it's very convenient. It can be practical. But what people want, they want the fun of shopping. And nowadays, many shops, many stores can offer actually experiential shopping. So people get after that. And that's why we see so more people on the streets, in the stores, just looking for, to buy gifts. By the way, when you mentioned that there is this sort of anxiety that people get when buying gifts, I think that comes because it's not always easy to buy personal gifts. Okay, it's all about buying personalized items, but that's not always easy to achieve, especially if you don't really know what the recipient of your gift wants. So I would say the best thing maybe, although for many people this is sort of taboo subject, they wouldn't approach it because they feel embarrassed. I think the best thing is to ask people what they want for Christmas, obviously within a reason and within your budget.
All right, so it's the last minute. What kinds of gifts should people be buying at this time now?
Oh, there's so much choice that people can buy. I mean, it can be, as I said, experiential gifts such as vouchers for plays, for shows. It can be vouchers for gigs, or you can give a museum or cinema vouchers. These are all great fun because they bring the experience. They can build the memories. You can offer someone afternoon tea, maybe. That can be enjoyable, elegant, fun gift. So what's the thing with gifting vouchers is that you can order them now, but they can be used at any point of the year. It's not as if the shops will close tomorrow and you're going to be left without, buying gifts for whomever you are buying it. So, yeah, I mean, laughter is the gift, for example, that keeps giving. So you can give someone a comedy club tickets and stuff like that. Or you can go for the classics, like a nice foodie hamper. You can go for a bottle of wine for someone if they enjoy drinking wine, something more sort of unique. Or if you are after something more expensive, you can buy someone Kopi Luwak coffee, for example.
I suppose as well, nowadays, you can do, if you need to, your Christmas shopping Christmas morning. You actually can,
absolutely,
can't you? Yeah. You could go online, you go, right, I'm going to get you tickets for a West End show. I mean, you need to actually do a remortgage application in the morning before you did that. But if you could do that, you could do, Formula One driving, those sorts of gift experiences, vouchers where you get it emailed to you. You actually could, okay, it might not be very personal, some of those, but you could actually do it Christmas morning, couldn't you?
Look, if you are super rich, for example, you can buy some crazy, expensive fun gifts for your family and your friends. You can send them out into space.
Airline tickets.
That's next level fun. I'm not sure whether they're going to be thrilled about it or totally scared to experience this gift, but there you are. There is.
I'm not sure I would. I'm not sure I'd send my family members to space. Though actually, thinking about it with my mother, maybe that I would be tempted to do that. I just would pity the other astronauts, that's all. Listen, nice to talk to you. That's Jana Busby with some final gift ideas on the psychology of Christmas. Are you in a Christmas panic? I don't know if I am. But I do get myself into a Christmas panic, and it's so ridiculous, isn't it? We'll talk a little bit more about this when we return next here on Talk.
I agree with Prince William, it can be done if the political will is there. I think we actually saw a little bit of that during COVID, during the Everybody In initiative. It shows that actually you can get everybody inside, you can get everybody housed. What the government would no doubt say back is that is very costly in short term because it's in hotels, it's in temporary accommodation. I agree. But that's also on you. We've had successive governments that haven't built enough housing, as we know. It's a nightmare to try and get anywhere on the ladder, particularly the social housing. We had, I think Margaret Thatcher's Right to Buy scheme was a good scheme.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, it's Christo here on Talk, and with you till 4 o'clock. And I think we should talk about Christmas now, to be honest, because I'm here tomorrow, Christmas Eve. And, actually, Thorin from Manchester and someone else on WhatsApp said, please, 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 this is a really good public information tip for you. Get your prescriptions. If you've any tablets or anything you need over Christmas, because many of the pharmacies will be closed Christmas Day, Boxing Day as well, and then the 27th is a Friday, so I presume a few of them will be open then, but you might have medication that you're running out of or something like that, so you've got probably an hour and a half till the pharmacies close, because I doubt many will be open tomorrow. Any pharmacies open tomorrow? Are pharmacists employed by the public sector? I think, are pharmacists, do they work for the government? Some do. OK, they won't be at work tomorrow. The ones that work for the government will not be at work tomorrow. In fact, they're probably closed now. Probably taken 2 weeks off over Christmas. But if you are the ones, I'm joking, but if you're the ones that, you know, if you've got a pharmacy nearby, go and get your medication now. Thank you for that. If train operators, says Stephen Stoke, can't run a service without relying on staff to work overtime, then that's their fault, not ours. You wouldn't like it if you got the blame that Talk Radio no longer bothers broadcasting at a weekend, would you? Yes, but the point is it's still down to the drivers to choose. They're choosing not to work. And they should be forced to. And you're quite right, by the way, it's not just the driver's fault. But I very rarely turn down work. Very rarely. I mean, literally, my answer phone is, I'll do it, leave the fee after the tone. I mean, that's literally what I say, because I don't turn down work. And I just don't think I would ever be so presumptuous if I went into a particular career to think I'm not working weekends. And actually, it is partly down to the staff, because the staff are voting in union leaders who are advocating for them never having to work weekends. And I guarantee you, if there was a union leader that came into one of those big transport unions and said, right, our new manifesto as this union leader, when we next have a negotiation, is we're going to say that you all need to work weekends, how long do you think that union leader would last? So it is partly down to the staff, I'm afraid, because they are advocating for union leaders that are not forcing them to work weekends. And even though they're not forced, they are still choosing not to. They're thinking, you know what, I don't need to go and help people get home, which is part of my duty as a train driver or a train conductor. I don't need to, so why would I? So I think that's quite bad. I do. If Avanti & Co. employed a full complement of staff, they wouldn't be so desperate for drivers to work on their rest days, said Steve in Stoke. Well, they're not allowed to employ more drivers, because that's the other thing that unions have got signed up. Do you know how difficult it is to become a train driver because it's such a closed shop? I mean, I'm sure Avanti or whomever else, LNER and all the others, I'm sure they'd love to employ loads of drivers. Absolutely love to. Because then they could say, right, we don't have a driver today, so we'll use another one. But the unions don't let them employ more drivers. So that is also part of the problem. says Steve in Stoke. So I'm afraid that it does come down partly to the staff, but also I think you do raise a fair point as well. It's down to the government to dig their heels in enough to renegotiate with those unions to force drivers and others to do 5 days a week. And if those 5 days work fall on a weekend, well, so be it. Do you remember the furore over 24-hour tube lines? And how many strikes there were when drivers were being asked to work on the 24-hour tube line? Like it was just a completely out the blue that they might need to work through the night every now and then. I think it was like 3 nights a year or something they might need to do between them all. And they said no. I mean, imagine that. It's mind-boggling to me that you'd go into something like that, that you would go into a job like that, and then when they say, right, we're upping the service, we want to increase the service for passengers, we want more passengers to travel, we want more passengers to spend their money on the underground, and the drivers say, no, sorry, not what I signed up for. Well, respectfully then, why did you become a transport operative? Because buses are 24-hour and lots of other services are 24-hour. Taxi drivers work 24-hour. So I think it's insane, to be honest. Another one here as well. There's always a chemist in towns and cities for a few hours on Christmas Day and Boxing Day. Oh, that is good, Martin. So I suppose you can look that up online, or anyone else as well. You can find that. So thank you for that. Douglas says, my parents always waited till late afternoon Christmas Eve to buy their turkey in the local market, because by that time, traders were reducing prices to sell quickly. One year, they got a great bargain bird when they got home, but it was too big for the oven. Oh, dear. Well, you definitely don't want a bird who's too big at your Christmas table. I'll tell you that for nothing. Though, sadly, that would mean most of my family couldn't attend lunch, including my mother. Okay, a few others here as well. Some of you are furious about train drivers as well. And M in Liverpool says, Christo, you're one of the best knowledgeable and intelligent presenters on Talk. We need more Christo on Talk. Happy Christmas, says M in Liverpool. Aww. I don't want to just talk about myself, though. James Max is here. James, what's your favourite thing about me?
Yes, who better than me to talk about you, Christo? Good afternoon.
I don't want to just talk about myself. I want your opinion on me too.
No, I don't think it's broadcastable.
Outrageous.
Oh, because it'd be too gushing.
Oh, is that why? Oh,
Christmas spirit.
That's the end.
The Christo Appreciation Society.
That's a load of old bunkum. Yeah. James has never liked me. We've never got along.
Really?
It's about time that we just came out and said that. He's never liked me.
I've always loved you, Christo.
Oh, that's nice. Now, what isn't nice is what's on the front pages this morning about the economy as well.
Indeed not.
And, I mean, why is it so bad? What's going on? I don't understand how it can be so bad.
Labour will happily blame the previous lot and say, well, we've had to make all these changes and
Difficult decisions.
Difficult decisions. But that's not the case. Arguably, the Conservatives were moving in a direction. I don't think it was the right direction. I think they'd made some really bad choices about the tax that they'd cut and how they were moving the economy forward. But it was moving forward, at least sluggishly. Whereas what Labour have done is they've completely shoved the brakes on, because it's not just about the choices that they've made in that appalling budget. Rachel from Accounts doing whatever she's been doing. But the economy moves on sentiment. And if you tell wealthy people you're not welcome, if you tell big companies you won't be rewarded for taking risk, if you don't encourage people, you and I, to go out shopping and spend a little bit more than we feel comfortable because interest rates have stayed higher for longer because we're borrowing too much as a nation, then all of these things combine and everything just shudders to a halt.
Which is why consumer confidence confidence is at the lowest it's been since, I think, before the pandemic. I mean, literally no one wants to spend any money because, they told us for 3 months after they got elected that everything's absolutely terrible.
And you see, that's the other point, is that they over-managed the downside expectations. So they gave us too much bad news when it wasn't justified.
You've said what I've said. Took 3 hours to say. You just said it in like 2 sentences. He is good, isn't he?
Well, there we go. We'll find out.
Nicest thing you'll hear from me.
That is the nicest thing.
OK, what else? Anything else?
Yes, so we're going to be looking, obviously, at all the travel. We'll be looking at some food. We'll be speaking to Mark Wogan about, different sort of food matters. We'll be taking a look at all the big stories. James Hill will be joining us later in the show to talk about the big political stories of the year. We'll be talking about those polls, which have been rather giving the Conservatives and Labour a bit of a beating. So we'll be finding out about those. We'll be looking into maths and teaching, and whether teachers should be teaching from home. We'll be speaking to the great maths teacher, Bobby Seagull. I know, they've been saying teachers should be able to work from home too.
But then,
I know.
Where would the pupils be?
I know. And I'll be joined by everybody's favourite lefty, Andy Williams, and we'll be going through some other stories and giving them a good beating. So there we are.
Thank you. That's James Max. He's coming up next. That is it from me. I'm back same time tomorrow, 1 o'clock. It's Talk.
I spoke with His Majesty the King to request the dissolution of Parliament, and we will have a general election on the 4th of July.
Or by helping the under-fire Labour government. Is Nigel Farage helping his enemy? And Home Secretary Yvette Cooper is affronted by an angry constituent whilst handing out mince pies in West Yorkshire. Let's take a listen.
That is so two-faced. Give him a mince pie.
Yeah. It's a nice tradition.
No. Give him a blanket because they're freezing to death. It's freezing about.
Bar humbug, she can't even give pies away. And Reform UK's new treasurer billionaire Nick Candy says Elon Musk is just one of a number of billionaires willing to donate to the insurgent party. Candy's claiming that British politics will undergo disruption like we have never seen before. Could 2025 be the year of the Reform Revolution? And that's all coming in your next hour. Welcome to the show. Always a pleasure to have your company. Well, they had many nicknames for our Prime Minister this year. Two-tier Keir, free gear Keir, never here Keir, of course, came in and did jet set Starmer because the Prime Minister always seems to be out of the country. And guess what? It's just been announced this afternoon. He's taking a break in the new year. Never here Keir, won't be here in the new year. Here's a little tribute we put together here at GB News. That's it, love that. All it's missing is the panpipes, beautiful work. We're having a bit of a joke, but of course the Prime Minister does seem to have more air miles than Richard Branson. Get in touch, let me know what you think. The way to do that is by going to gbnews.com/your say. Thank you very much. Now then, here's your latest news headlines with Sophia Wensler.
Martin, thank you. It's just gone 4 o'clock. Your top story this hour. The UK economy flatlined in the third quarter of the year, with revised figures showing no growth in GDP between July. Stuart Andrew is pointing the finger at the Labour government, warning that a recession is increasingly likely if their policies continue.
This is a really worrying time. They talked down the economy, so it's no wonder that confidence is falling. But then they made some disastrous decisions in the budget, not least the national insurance contributions hike, which is having a real impact on confidence for businesses and what they were thinking about for their future and any investments that they were thinking for growth. And then, I obviously work very closely with charities, for example, and they are facing a significant hike in their national insurance contributions bill, totalling about £1.4 billion. To
the US now, where the suspect accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson has pleaded not guilty. Luigi Mangione is facing 11 charges, including first-degree murder and terrorism. If convicted, the 26-year-old could face life in prison without parole. In addition to the state's case, a federal case against Mangione is running concurrently. One of the charges, murder through use of a firearm, would make him eligible for the death penalty if he's convicted. However, his defence attorneys called the situation highly unusual, noting conflicting theories between the state and federal cases. And back in the UK, King Charles will deliver this year's Christmas message from the Fitzrovia Chapel, a former hospital chapel in central London. It's the first time in over a decade the speech isn't recorded at a royal residence, with the King choosing the location to highlight healthcare workers and foster unity between faiths. The ornate 19th century chapel was once part of the Middlesex Hospital and now hosts exhibitions and community events. This year's message comes as the King continues treatment following a cancer diagnosis earlier in 2023. The speech will air on Christmas Day at 3 p.m. across TV and radio. In other news, a suspected arson attack has caused a large fire in Birmingham. Police say a car was deliberately set alight and rammed into a shop building in Spark Hill in the early hours of this morning, with residents describing the explosion as like a bomb going off. The blaze spread to flats above the shop, prompting evacuations. Thankfully, no injuries have been reported. Fire crews battled the flames with 10 engines, bringing the situation under control by mid-morning. West Midlands Police are urging anyone with information to come forward as investigations continue. And shop staff are facing a Christmas crime wave, with 670 shoplifting offences a day going unsolved over the past year. New figures show a 38% rise in unresolved cases since 2019, with more than half closed without identifying a suspect. The Liberal Democrats are warning the trend leaves shop workers vulnerable during their busiest season. The NHS is urging families to watch for signs of dementia as they gather this Christmas, with diagnosis in England hitting a record 500,000. Symptoms like forgetfulness, confusion about time and place, and struggling with conversations could be early warning signs. Care Minister Stephen Kinnock says an early diagnosis is vital for accessing treatment and support, while NHS highlights Christmas as a chance to notice changes in loved ones. Alzheimer's Society says 1 million people are living with dementia in the UK, but a third remain undiagnosed. Dementia was the UK's leading cause of death last year, with over 75,000 people dying from the disease. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Martin.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Sophia. Now, Britain's new ambassador to the United States looks set to call on the help of Reform UK leader Nigel Farage to help him to win over Donald Trump's administration. But after Lord Mandelson said this in 2019, is there any hope of a UK and USA special relationship? But is he the wrong man at the wrong time? Well, we can now speak with the senior fellow at the Bow Group, Lee Cohen. Lee, welcome to the show. You wrote an excellent op-ed in The Spectator, quite simply saying that you believe Peter Mandelson is the wrong man at the wrong time. Before we get on to if Nigel Farage could be the right man at the right time to help, tell us why you think Mandy is a flawed prospect.
Well, good afternoon, Martin, and thank you very much for having me on. It's a pleasure, as always, to speak to you. Peter Mandelson is an extraordinary choice for UK ambassador to the United States and has certainly raised eyebrows and has raised temperatures, it seems, according to some commentary by President Trump's campaign manager, who made some very sharp remarks about Peter Mandelson. And while
he called him an absolute moron and sad, and he should stay at home, let's be blunt.
He did, and thank you for pointing that out. While Lord Mandelson brings significant experience and political skill, his ideological differences with Trump, his past criticisms of the president-elect, and his history of controversy present significant challenges to building a strong and effective relationship between the UK and the US during a Trump administration. Mr. Mandelson is emblematic of an elitist Blairite mindset that is antithetical to Trump and his circle's way of thinking. It is difficult, really difficult, Martin, to imagine that he will have any cachet or gain much purchase in Trump World 2.0. And Lord Mandelson will need to recruit all of his skills that he has honed as the so-called Prince of Darkness to really navigate in Washington. But honestly, what right-thinking U.S. presidential administration would want to engage closely with the Prince of Darkness?
Well, why don't we now take a look, actually, at that clip I mentioned a minute ago, at some previous comments that Peter Mandelson made in 2019 that, how should we put it, they come back to haunt him.
With an American president who is little short of a white nationalist and racist. Even those who have a sneaking admiration for Donald Trump because of the strength of his personality, nonetheless regard him as reckless and a danger to the world.
Lee Cohen, it seems that every single person in the top flight of the Labour Party at some point in the past has called Donald Trump a fascist, a white supremacist, a racist, compared him to Adolf Hitler. It seems to be almost a part of the job description. Back to my earlier point. Is there then a place for somebody like Nigel Farage to be that bridge between Mandelson and Trump? And could that be a danger for Nigel Farage? On the one hand, it will place him as a senior playmaker, a deal maker to help with the special relationship. But do you think that he might be being utilised in a sense to help cleanse the reputation of the Labour Party, who have, let's face it, a lot of gremlins in their closets?
Well, I think there is some danger, but I have full faith in Nigel Farage that he knows what he's doing, and he really knows, he really has an outstanding relationship with President Trump. And I say thank heaven for that, because that could be the only thing to keep the special relationship from going off the rails, with two antithetical approaches, two antithetical worldviews. Trump is much less interested in global world order. He's much more interested in an entrepreneurial way of getting things done effectively. And Nigel understands this, and so do the others that are close to the president, certainly notably like Elon Musk. And it really is difficult to imagine that there's going to be much that they have to say to each other. This Starmer's choice in Lord Mandelson, who has been so pro-EU, and Starmer has made statements to the effect that he doesn't have to choose one way or another. But as we know, Trump is a world leader that demands loyalty, so he's going to want to know that the UK is certainly behind the US in its trade, in defense and intelligence and all of those things. And he's not going to want any half measures. And, with Lord Mandelson's past, certainly he's been an effective, he's been effective for the European Union. But we're talking about the UK's interests and the USA's interests and the interests of the shared relationship. And I think that's what's at stake. And thank heaven there's someone like Nigel Farage in the background to sort of keep things moving in the right direction.
And Lee, it has to be said that Lord Peter Mandelson was one of the most frothing at the mouth Remainers in Christendom. He was absolutely wedded to the idea of Brussels being the epicentre of power across continental Europe. And of course, Donald Trump has a diametrically opposed position to that. He sees the European Union as almost like a mafia-style racket. That's his description for it. He'd like to break up their power base. Is it possible for somebody like Peter Mandelson to keep Brussels happy and keep Donald Trump happy?
Well, I think that's a very difficult needle to thread. But certainly by reputation, Mandelson is a very skilled operator. So on the one hand, perhaps he was the best of Starmer's choices, of the people in the Starmer camp, to assume this post. But from an ideological standpoint, and from the standpoint of, you know, having been made indiscreet remarks about a president who really demands loyalty and really prizes loyalty, it's difficult to imagine he's going to be able to be part of conversations that really matter in Washington.
Totally get it. And also it's worth pointing out there are people within the Labour Party themselves not at all happy. Top of that list is Lord David Blunkett, of course, was with the Tony Blair government. He's saying that getting Nigel Farage on board gives him a position of authority, which he doesn't warrant. I suspect this story will rumble on and on. But thanks for joining us from Florida. And that's the Senior Fellow at the Bow Group, Lee Cohen. Always a pleasure. Thank you, and a very Merry Christmas to you, sir. Thank you. Now, maybe less than 48 hours to go until the big day, but Christmas is not filled with joy for everybody. For some of our veterans, our armed forces veterans, they might find themselves alone this week. But thanks to one charity in Greater Manchester, many veterans will receive the support that they deserve this year. Our North West of England reporter Sophie Reaper paid a visit.
The most wonderful time of the year. For many, Christmas is filled with festive joy. But for some of our veterans, December can be a lonely and difficult month.
Christmas comes straight after Remembrance, and normally you used to get a dip in people's mental health after Remembrance, and it wiped them for Christmas. It's no secret that many veterans or many people serving come from council estates and broken families and stuff like that, so we get a lot of people that can't afford Christmas, struggle really bad with Christmas.
After being wounded in Afghanistan, Craig left the army. But when he returned home, he found the adjustment to civilian life difficult. So in 2018, he launched the Spearhead Foundation to support veterans like himself. Now they've helped over 4,000 ex-service men and women, in particular over the festive period.
We run a programme leading up to Christmas, which is getting donations of presents in, and then the veterans will then get allocated a list of addresses as volunteers, and then they'll go out and deliver these presents to those people. But we basically try and bring that Christmas spirit in and try and get everyone involved in it. Last year we gave 214 present sacks out to families across Greater Manchester and the North West who had all struggled with Christmas.
Just one of the veterans helped by the foundation is Adam. When he first joined, he was struggling to the point where he was on the verge of taking his own life.
With the foundation, they've done a lot to help me on no longer having them suicidal thoughts. It helped me a lot therapeutically to get rid of the bad thoughts in my head. The reason I'm still here is due to the foundation. They've done everything to help me stay in a positive way to keep myself alive.
Now Adam is in a much better place. He volunteers as the head chef at the foundation and has befriended another veteran. Together they keep active and share memories from their days in the forces.
One morning I was marking and a jet fired a rocket while I was in front of the target, and it missed me. I felt a draft, so I nearly wasn't here.
Age 93, Fred lives alone, but because of the Spearhead Foundation, he gets to be around other people like him on a daily basis.
I've always been quiet. Yeah, it brought me out quite a bit. But when you come back, sometimes you slip back to your ways. But now they've made me more easy, relaxed, with strange people.
This time of year can often be a struggle for our veterans, but with the help of charities like the Spearhead Foundation, they too can experience the joy of Christmas. Sophie Reaper, GB News.
It's a wonderful package and great reporting. Can I just say a very Merry Christmas and a well done to all of our magnificent reporters this year. Of course, Sophie Reaper, Jack Carson, Will Hollis, Tony Maguire, Anna Riley and Doogie Beattie out there in the provinces, making Britain's news channel about the provinces, talking to you, getting great stories across. They've all done such an amazing job this year. Merry Christmas to all of our reporters. Now it's time now for our biggest and greatest Great British giveaway this year, and your chance to win 50 grand in tax-free moolah. It's the biggest cash prize we've ever given away, and it could be yours in time for Christmas. Here's all the details that you need to win that whopping, mouth-watering 50 grand cash.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway so far, with your chance to win a spectacular £50,000 in tax-free cash. 2025 could be amazing, with plenty of treats, holidays and fun on the horizon. How would you enjoy that cash? £50,000 will make someone our biggest ever winner. For another chance to win £50,000 cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
And next, we'll be cutting live to Germany. I think we've got some live pictures for you now. As you can see on your screen, a significant crowd gathering in Magdeburg after that terror attack, of course, by Taleb al-Abdel-Mohsen, which left 5 dead, including a 9-year-old boy, and 205 injured, as Germany is on the precipice. I'll be joined by the former AfD MEP, Dr. Gunnar Beck, to get his thoughts on the tragic incident in Germany that's appalled the entire world and making Germany ask huge questions about its political future. And as you can see, significant crowds are gathering in their numbers. That's next with me. I'm Martin Daubney on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
My next guest knew George Carman rather intimately. Indeed, he immediately asked her for her hand in marriage when they first met. Karen Phillips knew Carman from 1986 and was a close friend until his death in 2001. Karen has used court transcripts and personal documents